Ladies and gentlemen, we're here. Um, it's been a minute since we've been here doing the thing on the YouTubes, but we're here again. Um, I did not did not see myself doing this, but over the last like month or so, I've been really wanting to expand out in the draft league. Um, obviously big juice, but um playing another format is definitely very interesting to me, and being able to learn it and get good at it is also interesting. Breath of fresh air. Playing national decks the entire time while having all the mods available is fun can sometimes make it not fun because you're gonna see the same things over and over and over and over and over again, and nothing's gonna change, and all that. But the regional decks, especially the current one, is very fun. It's very different from how traditional Mons usually is. Usually there's at least a balance of power, I would say, but I feel like in Paldea it's just non-stop offense, and I think that's very interesting. And I think the team we went with is pretty crazy. This is the UNPL. It's not, it's the D League, not the actual thing. But yeah. Um, we are in what, the Larry division? There's four divisions with 12 each. So there's four different drafts with 12 each. So it's a bit of a low end, but usually leagues are about 12, 14, 16 people. So little on the low end, but I think for playoffs, I think it's, I don't know what it is exactly, but I think they said it is interdivisional. So we might see another Chin Pao team in playoffs. If we make it, who knows? But yeah. Um, I'm excited. Um, you know, I ever since I came back to draft league, I've kind of just been in Big Juice. I did play in the, I think it was like the PDL or something for like a little bit, but I got pretty busy, so I had to drop out, unfortunately. Um, but I'm ready to give it another try. I was also back in Gen 8, but that was also national decks as well, so it wasn't even regional. So this is gonna be the first time I'm playing a regional deck since like Gen 6. But even then, that was technically still national because all the mods were in it. So it's gonna be a first for me. I'm very excited, and I think I drafted good teams. So without stalling anymore, let's get into it. So first mon on the team is Shin Pao. Um, you know, honored one. Um, so going into the draft, um, oh shit, I mean click that. Going into the draft, I was so there's 20-point tiers, so 20 tiers. So the first tier is 20, which is Pal, Deoxys, and Palafin. Then at 19, there's some mods, but really the two I was looking at was Pult and Valiant. So I was third pick. I was expecting Dragapult to go first or second, and then I was expecting probably Deoxys Speed or Palafin to go first or second if Pult didn't. So I was expecting, all right, I'm either gonna get Valiant, Palafin, or Chin Pao. And then first pick took Landorus, Therian, and second pick took Latios. So we essentially had a free choice because Latios, I think it's very good, but second pick, I don't know. Landorus, Therian, first pick, I mean that's just troll as fuck. But we essentially had a free pick because I was not looking at either of those two. And as much as I like the Oxus Speed, I just got done using it in Big Juice, so I didn't want to run it back so soon, even though I did heavily consider it just because that mon is so broken. Pult, fuck that mon. That mon is cheap, as I'm using Chin Pao, but Dragapult, cheap as fuck. The only one I really considered was Valiant. Palafin's like whatever, but I don't think it's as good as Valiant and Chin Pao. I mean, it's probably better than Valiant, but I don't know. Valiant was very fun. It's a very fun option for me. I haven't used it yet in Gen 9, but POW I thought was just way too good to pass up on. Um, Dark Ice, very hard to switch in on. Sort of. I mean, it's Shin POW. I mean, I really don't have to go too in depth on it. I mean, it was open. I haven't used it yet. I think it's probably the like Pult, Valiant, Deoxys Speed. Like, if Deoxys is allowed, like those three are like the best mons in draft. Deoxys being like the best. I think Chin Pao is probably there with Deoxys. I mean, I think obviously Pult and Valiant are like more versatile than Pao, but Pao is just so broken. I mean, he shouldn't even really be allowed in draft league just because there's not anything that really switches in on it. I mean, I know what back in the beginning of the gen, like the Tauroses were good switch in, but in draft when you can run Psychic Fangs and stuff like that. I mean, obviously Pyapa Berry is a thing, but I don't know. It's gonna be a tough time for anyone dealing against Shin Pao, and I think just getting some Amon that's so fast and hits so hard to start the draft off, I think it was just a really good option. So yeah, that's why we went with Pao. Now going into round two, I just wanted a spinner. Like, as long as I got a spinner to keep hazards off for Chin Pao, so I didn't have to rely on boots so often with Pao, I was like, I'm fine with it. And towards the end of round one, I saw a Great Tusk was still open. I was like, all right, well, I'm basically at the end of round. I'm at the end of round two. I have like the wheel pick. I have like a pseudo wheel pick because I'm third pick. So I was like, if Tusk is open, great. If not, I'll get like a Garchomp again. I've used Garchomp season 3 of Big Juice, brought it to championship, won it. Gives me a rocker, a spiker. It's not the spinner I want, but I was expecting on the wheel I could get like a treads maybe or like a drill. It's one of those really good fast spinners because, you know, even if I can't get Tusk, Chomp is still a very good substitute. And then obviously Drill or Treads is a fine replacement in a spinner. So I wasn't too concerned about it. But um Tusk was open still. And it's very expensive start to our draft. I used 38 of our 115 allotted points already, but I mean, if Tusk is open, you take Tusk. I mean, it's that simple. Best spinner in the game, another just absolute wall breaker. I mean, Tusk technically has more attack than Chin Pao, 120 to 131 base, but sort of ruined. But Tusk, I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, the face of OU. I mean, took Landers his whole flow, his whole job. Um, can be a physical wall with like Rocky Helmet. It can be like a bulky assault vest spinner. It can be a setup sweeper with like rapid spin bulk up. I mean, this mon does it all. Hits so hard, and it gives me a nice speed tier because 135 is very good. 87 is like it's like pseudo slow, but like it's fast enough to where it can outspeed a lot of like defensive and like even like middling offensive mons. So I thought it was really good. It gives me a good base to work off of because 135 to 87, I can start filling in the speed tiers below, like in between, and then obviously like as I get more defensive mons, the speed tiers will drop a bit. So it gives me a good like range to work with, and yeah, I mean it's great Tusk. So um, but I don't want my boy Tusk setting up the rocks because it it's like Tusk is so good that like you don't want to always be setting up rocks with him. You kind of just want to be hitting things more than anything. So I wanted a rocker. I wanted a good steal. Probably a mixed attacker just because my first two mons are so physically offensive that I really wanted to start spreading the love a bit into like the special attacking department. Obviously, Jirachi's like a mixed attacker, so it's like whatever. And obviously, most of the time, you kind of do want to be running Iron Head, but Jirachi's just a great support mon. I mean, it gets healing with support, rocks, Thunder Wave, Serene Grace bullshit. It gives me a fighting type that isn't weak to fighting moves. Obviously, if it's like a banded Quavel or something, like we don't really want to be in on that just because we're gonna get two hit. But like you get the idea. Like it gives me a steel type that if I'm in the right situation, I can beat them. Because Chin Pao, doesn't want to be dealing with them mock punches. So, or any fighting hit for that matter. So, obviously Great Tusk with 131 defense can kind of deal with that. But I didn't want to pile up on the fighting type weaknesses so early. And also just Serene Grace bullshit. I mean, I can be in a bad spot in a game, and then I get one flinch or one para, and the game's in my favor. So, as cheap as it is to say, I mean, that is a real win condition with Serene Grace Fonz on teams like the Dunsparce or Jirachi. Like, it kind of feels bad to say, like, that's a win con some games, but it's an ability in the game for a reason. It might not be the most competitive, fun, or fair mechanic, and I can totally agree with that. But um, if it's in the game, um, I'm gonna abuse it. So yeah. So coming out of round three, because like Tusk and Jirachi is essentially like a wheel pick for me. I had to wait a lot of picks, and while I still had a lot of points left, I wanted to start like diving into like the middling and like lower tier picks, just because like I think once you have like a really good start to your draft, I think getting like that lower tier value is very important because like a lot of times teams will focus so much on the high tier stuff and it like for good reason because their mons are the best for a reason. They kind of have like hollow teams because like they have like the 4 to 6 mons that are super good. But then like the other half of their team is so ungot. Like they'll have shit like fucking I don't know like a fucking like Pikachu or something, and it's just like you're bringing Pikachu to one game if you're trolling, and then like the other 8 or 10 games you play, you're not bringing it. So it's like I didn't see the value in going too high. Um, I really like having a team where I feel like I can bring every single member at least once. At least I have a purpose on the team. So I started to dive down, started looking at Terra captains. Initially coming into the draft, I wanted to draft a 12 and 2 3s because in the 3 point Terra tier there were some fucking demons. Like just to name off a few, there was Beartick in 3, there was Greedent in 3, Haunter. It wasn't a bad shout in 3. The biggest one in my eyes is Mabostiff at 3 points is insane. I mean, the fact Mabostiff is 3 points. What are we talking about? The fact that Mabostiff is in the same tier as Macargo and Fione, insane. I mean, Fione at least gets take card now, so But the fact that Mabostiff is in the same tier as Macargo and Lampent is insane to me. Insane to me. So initially the plan was to get Lucario as my 12 point Terra because I think Lucario is probably like the best Terra captain if it's allowed. But since I got Great Tusk, didn't really see the point of it. So I decided to switch up the plan a bit. Decided to fall back on an old friend that I haven't used in almost 2 years now since season 1 of Big Juice, but we get the boy Zip. He's our first Terra captain of the team. The way that Terra works in UNPL, at least for the D League, that you get 2 to 3 Terra captains because you get 8. So like Zoltan's 9 points, right? He used up 9 points of my 115 point total, but he also used up 9 of my 18 Terra points. So you can use up to 18 points in Terra for Terramons, but obviously the points they're not like extra points you get on top of the 115. It's like since Jolteon is a 9 point mon, that's 9 out of the 18. You know what I mean? So he's up half my Terra points, and he's a great Terra captain. You have to do a stab typing, but you also get 2 additional typings. One with ice, just because Bolt Beam, and one with ground because while there is some teams with like grass grounds like Swampert and stuff like that, um, I wasn't too concerned about that because of just how my team ended up shaking out, and you'll see why in like a bit, but just looking at the teams in my division, I felt like ground was the best next option after ice. Um, I did consider other things like ghost, just to have another spin blocker and also just shadow ball stab. Just because a lot of teams in general just don't have good ghost type switch-ins, but um, I got a ghost type that we'll see later on, so I didn't feel like doubling on the ghost typing was too important. And just certain mons in general, looking at the league, it just felt like ground was the option. Like for example, there's a team with Glow King, there's a team with Iron Moth, there's a team with Heatran. Like those are mons where if I'm not Terra Ground, I can't really break through. And that's not me saying like if I play them, I'm like 100% guaranteed going to bring Terra Ground Jolteon to those games because maybe I don't like the matchup of Jolteon in that game, or maybe I have a different Terra Captain on my team that does better with their Terra in the matchup. But I'm just saying like if I do need it, I think ground can do me better in the division. So that's why we ended up going with Terra Ground. 130 speed, basically there with Chin Pao, 135, 130. I mean, my team is extremely, extremely fast. I mean, I only have one Mon below base 100 in Great Tusk, and he's still at 87. So my team is extremely fast. I kind of need to start getting like lower speed tiers, just so I'm not running into like a lot of trick room or teams with max bulk against me. Um, but in general, I think Jolteon is just he's been proven to be like one of the best Terra captains, even in the leagues where they like this league did 12 and under for Terra, which is higher, slightly higher than usual. Usually teams don't go to 12 just because there's some mons in 12 they're like broken with Terra, like Meloetta, Lucario. Um, Glamwood Terra is pretty crazy. The Dunsparce, well, the Dunsparce is Terra banned, but you get the idea. Like some mons in 12 probably like Venusaur, like probably shouldn't get Terra, but in in pretty much every league that does low tier Terra, they even Jolteon's included in that low tier, and he's been proven to be like the best Terra captain in my mind. Like obviously there's ones like Hisuian Electrode, but personally I think Jolteon's better than Hisuian Electrode. Just hits a lot hard. Like you're giving up 20 base speed, but like you're not. If you are a Hisuian Electrode, you are never one-shotting a Dragapult. And as a Jolteon, I can one-shot a Dragapult, and you probably can't. So like, you know what I mean? Um. So yeah, I just think Hisuian Electrode is just way too slow, and also this gives me a guaranteed strong special option. Because again, I have Pow, Tusk, and then Jirachi, which is like a mix attacker, but you know, um, Jolteon gives me that guaranteed, just hard special hitter that I've been looking for on the team that I didn't have yet, and got the kid back, man. Got the kid back. Excited to use him again. We got Smooches, the Enamorous Therian. Um, Enamorous is just pretty much what I wanted. I was looking for a fairy type just because I didn't have one yet. Um, and I saw Enamorous is open. I was like, oh my god, this is everything I need. I mean, it's a wall, it's a ground immunity that I didn't have yet, and it's always nice to have those on the team. Gives me another just strong special attacker. I mean, firing off Moonblast on off 135 base special attack, like even if I'm not investing into that, like that's gonna hit very very hard. And it can be a wall. You can run like Assault Vest. You can run like Rocky Helmet. Um, gives me a Spore switch in, which I don't know too many teams have Spore users, but just Overcoat is just such an underrated ability in my opinion. And it can be a setup sweeper, like with the Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Draining Kiss shenanigans. So I think an Amorous is a very solid mon. I don't see it drafted that much. It gets very outshone by Incarnate, and I mean, for very good reason, it gets outshone by an Amorous Incarnate. But I really do think the Therian form is very good. Um, it just doesn't get drafted that often in Gen 9, which is I mean, in general, it's just surprising to me. But yeah, and Amorous pretty much typing alone. I mean, the only other flying fairy is Togekiss, and I don't believe Kiss is in the decks. So, what does suck and Amorous doesn't get defog. I mean, you know, it's not the end of the world. Pretty much outside of DeFi, pretty much gives me everything I was looking for. So I was pretty happy in getting an Amherst. Next up, we got another Terra Captain. This is another mon that when I saw it in that 3 point tier, I was like, this is just way too good to let go. Homemade. I mean, this thing with Terra is just absolutely insane. I mean, in general, I just think this mon is very good, but 3 points, especially, is just in my mind. That's criminal. That's criminal for the kid. But we're here, homemade, thick fat. Fire and Ice had pretty good coverage on our team, and by pretty good, I mean pretty much killed everything. So having Appleton here to soak those hits, pretty important. IMO, TBH. Um, Grass needed it. I think grass is more important for the team than having the dragon coverage. Also, just yeah, water. You know, just we didn't have a bulky water yet. Uh, we will get two waters coming up soon. Spoiler alert, but um, water is just such a good typing. If there's like a Chi-Yu on the other team, like or not a Chi-Yu, but like you get the idea. Like if there's just a strong fire on the other team, and I go Terra Water with thick fat, like they will literally never kill me. So just a very good option. Also, just with how Appleton's base Grass Dragon is, they don't really want to be using grass or electric type attacks on an Appleton because they're quad resisted. So having that little mind game of essentially doing zero damage or essentially killing Appleton is hard. And Fairy just because Fairy's just Fairy's Fairy. Um, yeah, Appleton at 3 points is just extremely criminal. Extremely criminal. Um, Next up, I wanted a ground of poison. I wanted a spinner. Didn't have my bulky water. Get the idea. I mean, we got Tentacruel. I mean, if there's a game where I don't want to bring Spin on Tusk for whatever godforsaken reason, or I just need another spinner, I need another hazard removal option. I mean, Tentacruel is very good at that. Gives me it gets Spike Setter as well. Gives me a knockoff user, which we didn't have on the team yet. I think actually Tentacruel is my only knockoff user, which is a little bad, but definitely a weak point in my draft. But no, Tusk gets knockoff too. So yeah, I mean, how often do I bring a knockoff on Tusk? I don't know, but it gives me another. Basically, this is if I don't want Tusk running doing certain things, I can have this guy doing it. Gives me a fairy resist that we have Jirachi, but if I'm always relying on Jirachi to switch in on certain hits, it's gonna get whittled down a lot, especially if I can't run leftovers on Jirachi that week, or you don't always want to be running Wish on Jirachi, especially in this meta where it's so fast paced. Wasting a turn wishing can feel kind of bad unless you're pivoting that wish into like something like a Tusk where you can take advantage of it, like a free switch. But yeah, Tentacruel basically filled in everything we needed. Um, and yeah, I mean, just a good mon. I will say Pex was available here, which and they were in the same point tier, but I feel like if it was any other format, I would pick Pex, just because I think Tento's at 9. Pex being at 9 is pretty criminal, but with no Scald and with no hazard removal options on Pex, like yeah, the bulk is so good on Pex, but like in Paldea decks, it really just doesn't matter. And I I think just with how the game works right now in this generation, I think Tentacruel's better than Pex, as weird as that is to say. And I think it'll kind of keep the offensive pressure of the team up a lot. Um, yeah. Um, so coming into this last little bit of the draft, Appleton and Gren were like my wheel picks in a way. Um, I had a lot of points left, and I realized I could get like another like super high tier mon, like an 18, 19 point mon. And I saw 3 mons that really caught my eye. First mon, I don't know how it was so open, but Greninja was still open. And I didn't have a normal Spike Setter yet. And I was like, well, If Grant's open, we're 100% getting it. If not, we will probably get Infernape because he was also still open. It doubles up on our fighting, but we didn't have a fire type. And Infernape's a very strong mixed attacker that just got Aura Sphere in this gen. So I was like, alright, the plan is get Gren. If Gren is taken, we get Ape. And if somehow Ape also gets taken, we will look at Blaziken because Blaziken with Speed Boost was still available. I actually think Blaziken went undrafted, which is a little insane, but um, yeah, doing a quick look through of everything, yeah, I think Blaziken with Speed Boost went undrafted, which is a little insane, but you know, 12 teams, it be what it be. But dude, this is just everything's coming together on this team, bro. I mean, the fact that we got Great Tusk and Greninja when I wasn't even really. I mean, when I noticed that they were available and the picture come back to me, it's like, all right, if I'm noticing it now, other people are noticing it. I'm probably not getting them, but it's good to just pray for it. And the fact we got both of them is just insane. I mean, not only is this round 8 Greninja, it is essentially a round 9 Greninja because I literally got it on the last 3 picks of round 8. Insane. Um, Literally just one of the best mons in draft history. I mean, what in Gen 6, 7, and 8, it was protein banned. This is the first generation I think where it is normal for protein to be allowed in draft leagues. Because yeah, I don't even think I think Libero Cinderace is banned in Gen 8, and I know Gran was banned in Gen 6 and 7 from protein. So yeah, I mean, this is the first generation where Gren is finally allowed to be at its full power. And then also on top of that, leagues allow Battle Bond now, which it got worse, but I mean, getting a +1 to your attacks and speed is still very strong. Obviously not Ash Greninja strong, but it's, still very strong. Gives me a spiker, a talk. I mean, it's Gren. I mean, literally, if you're talking about the best mons in draft history, Gren is on that top. Gren is on that Mount Rushmore in my mind. I mean, what? I mean, Dragapult is number one. Number two, I mean, Chin Pao isn't allowed in all leagues, so like it's hard to say Chin Pao. Um, Trying to think like past like Mega Diance's up there maybe in my mind. Mega Scizor. Um, Gen 8 is like Kyurem and like Loking. But like even in Gen 6 and 7 when protein was banned, like yeah, Grind was like considered like a tier 3 mon at that time, like a tier 2 mon, but like the fact it was still that good while not having protein, like Grind is just insane, just one of the goats, and the fact that it was still up is just insane to me, just absolutely insane. So I mean, once I saw it and noticed it, I had to take it. Yeah, I mean, it's Grind, it's fucking Grind. But coming to the wheel pick here with Gren, I noted I had 5 points left for Terra. Um, I was missing a ghost, like that I alluded to earlier. I Having another ground immunity is nice. I always try to have like 2 to 3 like ground resist slash immunities. While I do have Appleton, I can Terra him, so like it's not always the most reliable ground switch in at times. So with that being said, we got Miss Magius. An old friend, had it season 4, Big Juice, brought it to a championship, but ended up not winning it. But still brought it to a championship nonetheless. Be a ghost, we have to. Fairy, Walmart Flutter, Budget Flutter, and Fire because we don't have a Fire type on the team, and having at least some sort of Fire stab offensive pressure is just very very good. Um, and yeah, I think in general it just works well with Miss Magia. So having at least some way of having a fire type on the team is nice because our last 2 picks we ended up not getting a fire type. But um, spin block ground immunity. I mean, that is why Miss Magius is so good in the low tiers, just because those 2 things alone, on top of just having base 105 speed, special attack, and special defense, is just pretty good. Um, 105 speed in particular is very good because I have two Mons at base 100 with Tentacruel and Jirachi, but those are typically going to be suited in defensive roles. So having a speed tier around 100 slightly quicker is very good for an offensive Mon, especially with like how fast my team is. Like I have Greninja, Jolteon, and Gren. What is that? 135, 130, and 122. So having a 105, while it is a severe drop off from Gren, 105 still pressures enough to where like I feel pretty confident, um, and I feel good about it. Um, yeah, Terra Mismagius very strong. That is the last of our Terra. I have one Terra point left, I believe. Let me see. Jolteon's 9, Appleton's 3, so that's what 9, 3, 12. So I have 1 point left. So technically I could Terra Hatchram, but well, no, I couldn't because you can only have 3 Terra captains. So never mind. I can't Terra Hatchram. I just spoiled the last mon on my team, or one of the mons on my team that I didn't announce yet. But Regirock is up next. So you guys kind of know the whole team now, but whatever. Coming in the last little bit, um, I debated getting a fire type because again, offensive fire is very good in draft, but um, I noticed my team was very weak to flying, and while no team really has like a Star Raptor on their team, there's a couple teams with flying types or mons with acrobatics, and not having a flying resist is pretty bad IMO in draft. Granted, I have great ways of pressuring out flying types like Chin Pao and Jolteon. Having my only flying resist be Jirachi is bad because again, I don't want all the pressure on Jirachi to eat certain hits. That's why I got mons like Tentacruel. Also be a fairy resist. I got Regirock literally just to be a flying resist. Um, Gives me a third rocker in the team. My mind, it's like 2.5 because like Tusk really, really doesn't want to be setting up rocks. So having Regirock do that for Tusk is very good. Um, and even Jirachi to an extent because Jirachi maybe doesn't want to do rock some games. Maybe he wants to do setup like Calm Mind or Cosmic Power or Iron Defense. I don't know, but Regirock pretty much just two things: gives me a rocker, gives me a flying resist. That's really all I cared about, and did it for the culture, the memes, the goat. I mean, I technically drafted Regirock like season 4 or something like that, and then I dropped it in like the grace period of Big Juice. So finally giving him the roster spot he deserved because kind of felt bad for dropping him in the free agency, but it be what it be. Then last up, we already spoiled it, so I'm just gonna get to it. We have Hatchram. The second I saw Hatchram at 1 point coming to the draft, I knew I had to draft it. For two reasons. One, Hatchram at 1 point is absolutely criminal. I mean, this mon is so. I mean, I'm saying absolutely criminal. Like it's not a 2 to 3 point mon anyway. But point is, Magic Bounce in general is literally an OP ability. Having it on a mon like this is very strong. Bad thing, not a fairy type, but with a Violate, it's pretty bulky. And in my thing, I said got cooked because I don't think I ever uploaded because I think I got like first rounded or I don't even know. But when the GBA fan tourney happened like last summer, like 8 9 months ago, um, in one of my games, I got absolutely smoked by a fucking Hatchram. I mean, I got destroyed, and I mean, I I thought it was a possibility coming into the game. I was like, maybe Hatchram comes, but I'm not expecting it. Bro brought like Calm Mind Hatchram, and like I got just I forget if it was Terra or not. I don't think it was Terra, but he brought Hatchram, bro. I got fucking smoked. I mean, I got embarrassed in 4K high def. I mean, my God. Ever since that day, I've been scarred by Hatchram, and now that I got it, hey, does Hatchram come to a game this season? Maybe not. I mean, when I have Great Tusk, Chin Pao, and Greninja on the same team, and I have three very good Terra captains, it's gonna be hard to fit Hatcham in most of the time. But if there's a matchup where Hatcham is needed, my God, is it coming? Um. So yeah, Hatcham is here. Um. Yeah, I had 1 point left over, and I thought, why not get Hatcham? I mean, why keep an extra point if I don't, I mean, I'm probably not going to make any trades on this team. I mean, look at this team. Tell me this isn't one of the most powerful teams you've ever seen, man. I mean, Chin Pao, Great Tusk, Greninja on the same team is insane. My opinion, I have three of the best low tier Terra captains. Jirachi is always a great mon. I mean, the only two mons I feel on this team you can really like slander is Regirock and Hatchram. I mean, Tentacruel and Amorous are very good. Maybe not the best mons, but for what I feel like I needed, I feel like they did that job pretty well. Literally, the only two mons I think you can critique on this team is Regirock and Hatchram. Other than that, I think this is a great team. I'm very confident in this team. Obviously, this is my first Paldea League, so how we actually perform, I don't know. Um, Genuine concern that I have is that my team is maybe too good. I know that's like a very weird thing to say, but like I feel like my team can do so much that I might get blinded by it. Like I have three Terra Captains, they all have three typings. Bringing the right Terra Captain and the right typing to each game, you know, it's a new experience for me. I've never done it before. So I feel like maybe the first week or two, maybe even three, I might just forget. I might just not see something that is obvious to other people in this league. But I feel like this team is very strong. I mean, again, Greninja, Great Tusk, and Chin Pao on the same team is absolutely insane. Um, if these three Mons were on like any other team in like a draft, like if this is on like an SPL team or a fucking BBR team or something, like people would be like, "How did this happen?" Um, so yeah, I'm pretty confident in the team. I taking player skill out of it because I'm not gonna. I don't know how good I am in the greater draft scene that is I'm in now. But I mean, if you're just looking at this team at base, I don't know how this isn't one of the better teams in the league. I mean, in my mind, like just looking at my division alone, I think I'm Larry. Um, the only other two teams that I think, I mean, not to disrespect it, I do think there's a lot of good teams. I think the Leafy Knicks, Dragapult, Cinderace, Gliscor, Grim. I think in Terra Araquanid, I think that team is pretty strong. But realistically speaking, the only two teams I'm really scared of is the Glaive Rushers and then the Sableye. I mean, Palafin, Ogerpon Fire, Arcaludon, and Amorous. That's pretty OP. And then the Glaive Rushers with Deoxyspeed, Sneasler, Bax, and Ninetales. That's pretty insane. Um, Another shout out or two would be the New York Metagross with Gouging Fire, Walking Wake, and Torkoal. The fact he got that team is insane to me. And then yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of very, very good teams in here, but I think for the most part, not having my team top three is a little criminal. I think my team is easily top three, top four. Obviously, there's only 12 teams, so saying I'm top three, top four isn't like the most impressive thing. But um, I mean, there's not. I mean, the team I'm playing week one, the Verbank City Victinis with Meow, Keldeo, Golden Go, and Glow King. I think that's a pretty solid team. But again, IMO, the team falls off a little bit with the lower tier mons. They're good, but I think I prefer my lower tiers. I don't think theirs is like much worse, but I just prefer my lower tiers compared to theirs. Just preference, but yeah. So yeah, I think I have a very good team. Whether or not I execute on it, that is just something that we're gonna have to see as the season goes out, and I'm very excited for it. So that's gonna be me. This is my UNPL D League team. Um, And yeah, I think my first game is next Friday, like March the 1st or something. So, um, I'm excited. And yeah, I'm gonna get on out of here. And Big Juice is starting up. What? Not this weekend, but next weekend. So, is it? Let me see. Yeah, Big Juice is starting up next Sunday. That's gonna be the draft. So we're gonna be a week ahead in this league. We're basically gonna have two leagues going on at the same time, which it's gonna be a lot, but I'm excited. And yeah, I'm gonna get on out here now, and I'll see y'all later. Goodbye.